Okay, so a little note here. You'll notice part of this video looks different than the second half. That's because I started on this over 3 years ago. A whole different place I lived on top of that. And I don't know, just one of those things just kept getting put off. And I finally got some O-rings to fix the all these talkies. And so it was shot on a different device and, you know, all kinds of differences. So, I mean, even I look. Anyway, so now on with the show, just so you realize why some things look a little different here and there. Well, hey there, and welcome back to Richard's Toy Room for another episode of Richard's Restorations. Now today, what we got for you, and if you watched my sneak preview video, I showed you this. This is a 1962 Mr. Ed Mattel. Is a pull string. It's a Mattel talking hand puppet. And my hand just barely fits in here, but it will. But I'm not going to do it now because then I'm going to have to get it back out. But I'll show it to you after we fix it, which I'm fairly confident that I can. So I'll show you what's wrong with it. It doesn't talk. The string just pulls right back in. So what I think is probably wrong with it, which is common on these old Mattel talkers, is there's a rubber drive belt O-ring that, since it's, what, almost 60 years old, doesn't last. And so what you have to do is you have to take the talk box out of here. So you have to undo all the stitching in here along the edge and pull the box out and then take it apart, fix it, glue it back together, put it back in, and sew the seam back shut, and hopefully, if everything turns out okay, it'll work. And also, we'll take the opportunity at that point to clean this. It's a little dingy, dirty. Could use a pretty nice bath, and the vinyl needs to be cleaned, and I might even give it a little OxyClean soap to brighten it up a little bit. So, that said, let's begin. Okay, so let me give you a progress report here. Obviously, I'm not going to show you every single boring step of, like, for example, what I just did, removing the stitches. Now, on this, I wasn't aware of it, but it became clear after I started getting into it. The seam on this, which I thought was along here with the same color thread, I started pulling a few of those stitches out and it wasn't coming loose and I couldn't figure out what was going on. After looking really, really, really close, I found that there was a I don't know what kind of thread it is, but it's almost like a super thin fishing twine, and like invisible plastic thread, and that's what was holding this bottom seam together. So basically now you see there's the talking box. Now the next step is we have to remove this snap on the little this little cylindrical end where the string goes in. And you know, that'll help us to get this box out of the toy. Sometimes those are a little difficult, sometimes they'll come right off, but let's see if we can get it off on camera here. Oh yeah, that is on there. So I'm going to remove this off camera and then I'll give you a closer look at it. Alright, so basically I just grabbed a screwdriver and I put it in right here and I tweaked it. It was just too hard to do by hand. And that's it. It's just, that's what holds the fabric part into the end of the mechanism here. So now it's just a matter of trying to fish this whole thing out of here. Hopefully I got enough stitches out. I think I do. And we will return after I get that out of here. Alright, so it came out. It was a little tight. It did get a little tiny little tear on this liner, but once I get it all back together and sewn, you'll never see it. So basically this is the box right here. And now I could disconnect this cord here, but then you run the chance of losing the string inside and everything unwinding, and then it's a nightmare at that point. So what I usually try to do is I try to pull the cord out and kind of put something on it to keep it from going back in, but that also gives me enough slack to like work on it. And I'll find something to do that at some point, but right now I just want to just kind of show you what you got here. Now the one thing I don't like about this one is, I don't know if you can hear that, it sounds like there's some debris inside there. I don't know what that could be. I'm hoping it's not something broken. I don't know how anything could get in there. What I think it might be is the belt just turned to concrete and just it's pieces of plastic shrapnel now. At least that's what I'm hoping it is, because if it's something else, that's going to be a problem. But this here, this is the end of the spring. Never, ever, 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 never, ever, never, 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 never remove that from this post. So you have to be really careful when you split it along this seam, when you take the two halves apart, that you do not remove the end of this spring at all costs. That will just give you nightmares beyond belief trying to recalibrate that spring to work properly. So, fair warning if you try to attempt this yourself. So the next step is I'm going to have to go around this with probably like a utility knife or this kind of knife here and start to split the seam. It's not as horrid as it sounds. I've done it before. Once you get it started, it usually comes apart fairly easy. And that's the only way to get inside here. And then all you do is you use, well, the best thing to use, but you can use other types of glues as well, but model glue works pretty good, because this is like the same type of plastic that plastic model kits is, and it'll melt the plastic back together. So we'll probably end up using that when we get all done. But that's far in the future. So first thing is we have to get this apart. Okay, so we're moving right along here. Now, just to give you a little bit of a couple of tips here. The easiest place to start when you're splitting this apart is up here, like at the corners where this shaft is, because that seems to be like the part that's not glued too severely, and then start working your way around. And you know, once you get it like, you know, started, you know, you put a screwdriver in and just kind of like give it a little twist, and eventually some of it's going to be a little more difficult than others, but once you get like over here is where I ended up, all of a sudden it'll just start cracking apart like as simple as pie. It'll just start splitting right along that seam, and it's just like click, 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 and the whole thing. Now, one other thing that I need to clarify, I said in the last segment, never take this spring off this post. What I should have clarified was you can't take this apart without taking this post out of the spring, but never take this spring out of this little notch that it sits in. So you have to be real careful not to, all it is an open slot that, see, the spring is round, and so it won't pop back through the slot, but you can accidentally pop it up over the edge. I'll show you here. You see how this is coming apart? See how it's coming out of the spring? Now you see right there the slot. You got to be real careful not to accidentally pop that out of the slot, because if you do, that whole spring is going to unwind, and then you might as well just give up, because you'll never get it right again. They're really, at least in my experience, they're like near impossible to get that stupid thing wound right, and so you get the right amount of string and the right speed, and it's just you'll be pulling your hair out. So anyway, I do have this apart. I'll be real careful here. Usually it's even best to kind of hold your fingernail on this so you don't accidentally pull it up, because you could pull it up with the shaft while you're opening it. So here you can see this is the top. Let me put this down. Here's the spring right here. So you gotta be real careful. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put like a clip or something on here to just for safety. Ooh, it scared me. The string was pulled out just a hair, so it wound up a little. But do you see what I mean? I mean that could just go whang and you're done. But this is, I noticed there's a lot of lint in here. I don't know how I'm going to get it out of here. I don't want to try to crack this off here, because this is a pretty fragile speaker. This is a speaker, and it's got a little spring on here. Eek. Wasn't expecting that to happen. It's not broken. It comes apart like that. It's sticky because you put a little bit of Vaseline on the end of there for lubrication when you put it all back together. But that little plunger rides. Oh, I see what happened. This part just came out of its little notch here. But it was exactly what I thought. The belt is just disintegrated. That's, you can see little black pieces floating around in there. And it goes around the record, and then around, there's a pulley down here, and then this thing gets, this is the governor, and this is what gives you your speed control. So this is the needle right here, and when you pull the string out, it winds the tension on the spring, and then it kind of pushes it down the record, and record turns, and you get your voice, your sound. And this keeps it from going too fast. And that's why, since there's absolutely no belt on there to run this governor, there's nothing to slow it down. Plus, the belt helps keep the record straight, because it's not even touching the needle right now because it's at a funny angle. So that's the trickiest part, is getting the belt back on, because you have to move this spring to get the belt around it, and that is going to be the trickiest part. So you got to be real careful. You're going to have to hold everything, pull this, didn't realize it was off camera, pull this out of the slot while you're holding it so nothing moves, and get the O-ring on the other side, pop it back in, then you can finagle it all in it to its place. So once we get that far, I'll try to show you that. This needs to be totally cleaned out, blown out. Make sure this governor's not sticking. It seems like it's okay. The springs seem good on it. And there's got the felt pads on it. So that should be in good shape. You just put like a little dab of Vaseline on all the moving parts, and you're good to go. But everything's filthy in here from that belt coming apart. The record's all dirty, and the dirt on the needle, and there's dirt everywhere. So I have to carefully clean this out, and I think we're going to fix this before we actually tackle cleaning the thing, because I want to put it all back together and glue it and all that, and then hang the string out a little bit so that I can work on the cleaning the body of it. So that's where we are at this point. I think what I'm going to do right now is, since I don't have an O-ring, I'm going to have to go over to like the Ace Hardware or something and pick a couple up, because I also have another one. If you watched my sneak preview video, I got a Tom and Jerry, which I think has the exact same problem. Alright, so as you saw in the last part there, we got to the point where we had this all apart, and now it needs to be cleaned and fixed. So let's see what we're dealing with here. Probably isopropyl alcohol. Actually, probably almost anything would probably work good, but since all I have handy right here is lighter fluid, I'm just going to clean things with lighter fluid. Just these little pivot points before I grease them in the next part. Let me check and make sure all the crap's out here. I don't know if I cleaned this out when I had it last time or not. Looks like I did. I think I need to clean the track here for the belt. So just to make sure everything's clean. Get it as nice as I can. This Q-tip and some lighter fluid in case there's any gook in there. Well, there's definitely some dirt in there. It doesn't look too bad. I think that'll work. All right, so what I'd like to do, God, I really hate messing with this thing. It's just, I'm always so afraid that these springs are going to go flying. I had one where it did, and I could never get it back right. I'm sure there's probably a trick to it, but I don't really want to do that. But that's why we got this all kind of open here. Just kind of give this record a kind of a quick clean up here, in case it's got some yick on it. And we'll clean off the needle. That looks pretty good. Alright, so the one thing that I would like to do is get underneath here and put a drop of Vaseline in this bottom pin here. Now, possibly, I guess what I could probably try to do at the same time is put this new belt on. And just pray that this doesn't go crazy on me here. Okay, got a hold of it. That should be plenty of lubrication. Now let's try to get this belt on here without getting any crap on it. This is not fun. we have it down enough. It's not on there, but I'm going to see if I can get it on there now. Oh, good Lord. This is not going to work. Okay. I'm going to pull this off again. Go springing on. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Okay. Almost lost it there. I got grease on my fingers. Alright. Come on. Get on there. I think I got it. All right. Well, let's see what happens. It'll work or it won't. What happened? Why is it not working? It makes no sense. Alright, it's going to be hard for me to explain this. I knew there was something didn't feel right here. This pulley didn't feel like it was going down all the way on top of the record underneath the spring. As you can see, the spring is sprung. So this is going to be fun. The reason why it kept going back like that is because there are 3 little metal rods in here around this spindle underneath this pulley, between this pulley and the spindle in the record, and they act as a one-way clutch, so it'll turn one way but not the other. So I had to pull that pulley off, which of course made the whole spring and everything come off as well. So now I have to hopefully be able to rewind the spring back to kind of what it's supposed to be and hope for the best here. So it might just be a trial and error kind of thing, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Alright, so here we are with the final reveal. I think it looks pretty good. What do you think? I'll tell you what I did. So he's all sewed up. I used this, what they call, I don't know if that's a brand name or if that's a type, but it's called Coats Transparent. It's basically thread, but it's like fishing line. There's some on this, you probably can't even barely see it with the camera there, but there is some thread actually hanging on this needle. And that's what I used to sew it back up. To clean the fur, I used a combination of, because that's all I had. I would have preferred to use maybe like a upholstery cleaner or a carpet cleaner or something like that, a foam. But turns out, I mean, I looked everywhere. All we had was Spot Shot, professional grade Spot Shot, but it worked excellent. So I just basically kind of gave it a really good coating with Spot Shot, and I went over it liberally with a toothbrush, an old toothbrush. And then on the hair, it was dirty and kind of yellow, discolored. And all I did with that was, while it was wet with the Spot Shot, you know, waiting to dry, I did that first. I carefully, because you don't want to get it on something that it could really affect, I used simply Clorox Cleanup. It's a spray bottle, and it's got bleach in it. And so I just basically bleached the yarn hair back, and it came out awesome. I did the same thing. I went over it with a toothbrush, and as I was cleaning it with the toothbrush, I was real careful not to get it on the yellow, or whatever color it is, palomino. I'm not even sure if it would have affected it, you know, even just being on there just for, you know, a short period of time, but I didn't want to take a chance. And as I was going gently over it with the toothbrush, I saw it basically turn beautiful white like that, and I'm very happy with that. I did check it. He says 10 things. I'm assuming that's all he says. That's the most different ones I could get out of him, and we're going to try to get him to say all 10 things. No, we're not going to get him to try. He will say all 10 things, but I'll probably have to edit it. But anyway, after he was dry, I let him dry overnight on a towel. Oh, and I just cleaned his face with a combination of some lighter fluid with a Q-tip. Just went over like the spots, and also on the white, it brought out, took the dinge off, and then I just cleaned it with some Windex, and came out beautiful. But anyway, after I was done with the letting it dry, I just took a dog brush, you know, one of those like kind of like those really fine, really wire brushes, and I just gently brushed him, and he came out beautiful, soft, like new. So, like I said, really happy with it. I have him on a doll stand. I think that's how I'm going to display him. I couldn't figure out what to display him with, how to display him. I was looking at all things, and I just looked over and happened to see an extra doll stand I had. It's one of the ones that basically sits as tall as he is here. The only thing I did had run into a problem, there was a stain on his tag. And I tried using that Clorox cleanup. I was hoping to stain the white back, but it started to fade the blue. So unfortunately, I got like kind of like a little blue smudge or whatever you want to call it on the original Mattel tag here. Kind of faded it towards the left, but it did clean it up somewhat, but I'm happy with it. So let's see what he has to say. Now, I'm not sure if it had anything to do with me springing the spring, if that's the proper term, and having to recoil it, because I don't know how many turns it was, and it was kind of just, I just kind of had to eye it up, because I remember where it sat on the record when it was on there originally, and I tried to make it that big. So I'm sure I'm within a couple of turns of that. In fact, I even took 2 turns off of it because I thought he sounded too fast, and I'm not even sure if that would even make any difference or not. I'm assuming it would, but I didn't want to take it too many times because, I mean, every time you're unwinding one of them coils of springs, you got a chance of it like going off again on you, and then I would have had to rebuild that whole one-way clutch and everything, and I just was kind of like, it's good enough. I mean, I can understand what he says. It's just, to me, it sounds like something like octave off or something, but maybe that's how it was when it was new. I don't know. I've never had one. Anyway, let's see if we can get him to say all 10 phrases here.
Isn't it silly talking to a horse? I'm a horse, of course. Just call me Mr. Head. My shoes are good luck. Who has a horse face?
Sarah Jessica Parker does.
A ringing. Shall I answer? I'll be the horse, you'll be the buggy. Come on, let's talk. My girlfriend has a ponytail.
There we go. You don't know how many times I had to edit that to get it to say that last one. So that's 10. I thought it sounded pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. I have plenty more to do now that I ordered a bunch of O-rings. So just have to decide which one to do next. I've got, at least 3 or 4 of them, I think, sitting in the box over there. So stay tuned for more. I'm actually working on another video that'll be out probably shortly after this one. And I don't know, I've been feeling better ever since I did that Where's Richard video. And I've been trying to do, focus on getting back to doing some more stuff that I like this. I think the video was maybe a little bit of therapy. So, just kind of getting it out there and admitting it or whatever helped somewhat. So, like I said, stay tuned for more. If you feel like subscribing, go ahead. Haven't monetized anything yet. Don't know if I will. But thanks for watching, and see you again soon.